I've been hearing.
Is your projection for the conference as a whole and Miami?
So as projection as a conference as a whole, um, I'm I've been fighting this for a long time, wanting to finally be like, this is it. This is the year because this is a perfect opportunity for us to finally come in and shock Clemson. And I don't think it's going to happen. I want it to, but I think Clemson holds on to the title this year. I'm going with Miami number 2.
Okay,
hands down. I really do think that we're gonna. I've been really kind of nervous about making that decision, but I'm pretty confident. And my bold statement is going to be that we beat Clemson.
really?
Yes,
Okay.
but I think
Right.
they take us
Wow.
in the ACC championship.
Well, Luke, how about
Okay.
you? What's your projection for the ACC this year?
For the ACC, I think Clemson. I think Clemson takes it out. They're bringing a lot of guys back, and I'm a big fan of their quarterback. But yeah, that I'd have to say personally. Now, as far as number 2 and number 3, I'm kind of stuck between Notre Dame and Miami. I won't really be able to give you an update on that until after I see Notre Dame and Miami both play, see how they perform.
And I'm right there with you. I think Clemson is too good. They're too well coached. Trevor Lawrence is obviously Trevor Lawrence. He's Heisman front runner right now, projected overall number 1 pick in the draft. The kid is obviously a stud, and he has talent around. As far as the rest of the ACC, I'm actually with you, Darby. I think Miami will finish second in the ACC, but
Right.
I think Notre Dame and all of their snarkiness and smart ass tweets.
Are we gonna get to this?
Oh,
I'm ready. Oh, baby.
You
I
know,
already
I'm
tweeted
ready.
about it.
Notre Dame official football account tweeted out as they were putting the ACC logo onto their field, felt cute, might delete this or next year, and that is
That's
that-
insanely disrespectful
yeah,
for a conference that just saved their fucking season.
that really pisses me off. And honestly, I don't even think Notre Dame will crack the top 3. I think you have Clemson number 1, Miami number 2, and I think North Carolina finishes 3rd over Notre Dame. And that is my projection for the ACC. And I pray that Notre Dame actually joins a conference so I can watch them take multiple losses every year. The bullshit that they get with the independent schedule. Either join the Big Ten, join the ACC, join a conference, get some real competition, because what your independent schedule gives you is crap. That is my opinion on
Yeah.
Notre Dame and the ACC starting out.
Go off, King.
But moving on from a clear-cut number 1 prediction in a conference, let's move on to the Big 12, where you have a national media bias or consensus rather, of Oklahoma being the clear-cut number 1 in the Big 12. Is that the case, or is this the year that Texas is back actually happens?
I want Texas back.
I want it back too.
I want them back so bad, and I think that this year could be it, because as we've already seen in a couple of these games now, and I mean, Navy went ahead and said it themselves. The head coach did. I think there's going to be a lot more teams that are going to say it too, especially after this first game that Texas has against, who is it, UTEP? UTEP. So I think Texas is going to come out and do the same thing they did this past season. I'm willing to bet money that they're not setting back anything when it comes to the contact that they're doing in practices right now. And we all saw the game against LSU, and I mean they didn't pull that out, but LSU walked out of there with a lot of bumps and bruises. They probably had, I think at least 9 or 10 starters walk out of that game with injuries because Texas was just smacking them. Like we all love that kind of football. Like that was the football we grew up on.
Yes.
You know what
Sean
I mean?
Taylor,
Like,
baby.
you know what I mean? Like the good old school Ray Lewis and the
Yep.
guys that we used to love and
Back when you were allowed to hit and without being scared of getting ejected for targeting.
Right. And so, like Ed Reed, like that kind of football, like that's what we grew up on. And Texas was playing like that this past season, but they were doing it in a way where they weren't getting the penalties thrown, and they weren't being cheap about it. So I loved watching that game. I think Texas is going to do the same thing. They're going to come out this season firing on all pistons, knowing that they have a shot to come after Oklahoma. And I'm going to pick Texas.
Texas,
I'm
okay.
gonna pick Texas first, Oklahoma second.
Okay. Darby, how about you? What's your projection for the Big 12?
I'm sticking with Oklahoma. It's just solely out of I just can't settle in on somebody that can rise up and take. Like you're just you're waiting for Texas to be the phoenix rising from the ashes. Go back to the Vince Young days that we
Right.
grew up on. But
And
I don't see it. And apparently, Lincoln Riley's got his guy. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone's extremely high on Spencer Rattler, and I'm interested in seeing how he does with his own quarterback rather than a transfer quarterback. To see this actual true quarterback guru that they like to talk about. I'm not trying to insult the dude. I don't know if he is, because transfer quarterbacks don't. But I can't settle in. But one name I want to watch for on Oklahoma, go away from the grain that because the Spencer Rattler has the highlight. Watch out! I want to see what Jaden Hazelwood does. He was a 5-star receiver. He actually came in a recruiting battle between us and Oklahoma. I wanted him really bad. I want to watch for him. I want to see what he can do because he should get significant play.
Yeah. So I'm actually with Luke. I think Texas is going to retake the Big 12 this year. I know Oklahoma is the consensus pick for the national media, but you have a freshman quarterback coming in. You lost your bell cow back in Trey Sermon. There's a little bit too much inexperience for Oklahoma for me to take the pick when you have all of the experience on the side of Texas. I mean, Sam Ellinger is back for his senior year, and kid's going to be motivated more than ever. Last season he came off of getting a bowl win, and then you have the immediate letdown in the season last year. I think Texas gets its shit together, and they come back ready to play ball, hitting hard, getting the ball downfield, moving, sustaining long drives against those Big 12 defenses that we all love, and retake the conference. I think it's time that they get back. Now, the big question for me is their recruiting, if they can refill that quarterback slot going into the future, as to whether or not they'll really be back. But I think they're back for another single season. So, Luke, I'm going to pass it on to you. Let's hear about the Cincinnati Bearcats in the American Conference.
Your turn, buddy.
All right,
Let's hear it.
Step up on my soapbox here. All right, so looking into this conference, and it's out there for the taking right now, and I'm really, really excited to see these guys play because they're coming off 2 stellar seasons. They won their bowl games. They might not have had the wins that everyone was really praying for and thinking that we all knew they were capable of doing. There was just some things that we saw that were missing, whether it was offensively or defensively or as a whole. And I think that they're going to be able to handle themselves really well this year. And I think they're going to go undefeated. Cincinnati's going to go undefeated in the American Conference, and how that ends up leading them afterwards, I'm not sure. But I got pretty excited today to see Dennis Dodd on CBS Sports talking about how he has them set as a college football playoff team. So I hope that ends up ringing true.
I've seen a couple of us put them in there actually. There was one big one. I can't remember who it was.
It was Michigan.
Oh yeah, Desmond Howard.
Yeah.
Desmond put them in. I don't know if I didn't. I meant to message you about that,
No.
but over the weekend on College Game Day, they made their playoff picks. He put since.
You know what? I did not see
Yeah.
that. I wish you had sent that to me. But hell yeah, man! I'm telling you, because here's the thing. In this time right now, as we've mentioned and we've talked about this already before with the whole coronavirus thing and everything that's going on right now, and with the talk right now, we're still waiting to see if even Big Ten gets into it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if Big Ten does not get into, if Big Ten doesn't play, Cincinnati is no doubt in my mind going to be a college football playoff opportunity. No doubt in my mind.
Yes.
Hands down. Not even gonna question. If Big Ten gets in, then there's gonna be a little bit more competition, and Cincinnati's gonna have to do more than just win out. I think they're gonna have to dominate some of these teams that deserve to be dominated. We have some teams that are after watching this whole BYU Navy game and Navy talking about how they're gonna have to be more physical in practices and stuff like that. I'm hoping that we can put a whooping on them similar to what BYU did. Now that's gonna take some work because how things go as the season progresses, but all that being said, I think Cincinnati's going to also be able to beat UCF. They have 10 10 players. I think it might have been starters. I'm not 100% sure about where they were on the depth chart, but 10 of their guys all opted out for the season due to COVID-19. They lost 10 guys. I didn't go through the names or who they were, but that alone is something that's going to say something about the program and what might be going on. And then
I didn't realize there was that many.
10 of them. And with all of that, I think Memphis is somebody that's like going to be the one team that I think we're going to have to really. I'm curious to see how they play this week. I'm really excited to see that. I'm really curious to see how UCF plays. Based off their first 2 games, I think I'm going to have a pretty good idea on how things might shape out because I think Cincinnati's going to win out. The UCF, the Memphis game might be nail biters if they aren't doing too hot these first couple games. That might make me think differently. But outside of that, I'm really, really excited to see Cincinnati play. Luke Fickell's got these dudes on the right track. And their recruiting classes have been stellar. They keep getting better and better. Luke Fickell has chosen to stay for another couple years. I know that he's not the only one in the staff that has chosen to stay, and the defensive coordinator has too. Mike Denbrock is doing a great job running this offense and putting guys in the right spot. So I'm really excited. Desmond Ridder has also got some competition behind him too. I know he's got some stellar quarterbacks behind him, so I know that the quarterback positions are going to be battling day in and day out to keep that starting spot. And all 3 of them can play. Desmond Ridder can run and throw. This new freshman quarterback that they got coming in, he stellar quarterback that they stole from a lot of other big programs, Ohio State primarily, who's then his brother also decided to sign his transcripts and go ahead and hop on board with his younger brother and come to Cincinnati. So recruiting wise, they're doing great.
Yeah.
I don't think stellar recruiting wins the upcoming season by any means, but in future seasons, it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah. The fact that they're choosing to stay is getting me excited. I think that this year, they all know that this is the year for them to finally make a huge difference and step up and do something special. I know Coach Fickell's been working the hell out of all these guys and helping them develop. He's got a solid strength staff there as well. And I think they know how to develop guys. They have a lot of guys that were all walk-ons that all ended up earning full scholarships and they're all starters right now, who were some of the best players on their teams. That started off being walk-ons, like stellar. Like one of the best guys on their team right now. His name's Ethan Bucky, and I got to see him play a little bit when I was helping out there, and it was a joy to watch. Man, really physical. Then after being gone and seeing how well he's been doing, I've been nothing but ecstatic watching these guys play. So. That's my take. Cincinnati wins the conference. If Big Ten doesn't get in, they for sure get a college football playoff bid. If Big Ten's in it, then they're going to have to make sure that they smack some of these other guys in their conference who aren't as worthy. I think we got to make sure we run the score up on these guys a little bit to make sure we're making a statement going into this season. That's my take.
Darby, what do you think about the American Conference?
So I'm in agreement. I actually was going to go with UCF. Originally, after thinking on it, but I didn't know about that stat on them losing 10 players because I was really focused in on the transfers that came in on UCF with Devod Wilson out of Georgia and Jaden Francois from Nebraska. I'm not entirely sure if they're eligible this year. Not Jaden Francois, he'd probably be a hard one, but I'm sure Devod Wilson probably. So I was going to be high on them, but I didn't know that they had 10 players opt out. So to me, that changes it completely. And because I was going to go with a close race and have UCF win just primarily off the matchup against off championship. But I'm going against that. They sold on Cincinnati for sure, and I do think they have the with that. I think UCF was going to be the one that was going to be the
bid.
Yeah,
right there with them. I think Memphis is going to take a huge step back.
Really,
personally.
Okay.
I think Mike Norvell was I'm not too high on him at Florida State. I just think he was a really big cog, and that the one that kind of brought Memphis up. And just have him, when your program that's been building up, and you've had that guy building you up, and then he drops off, goes somewhere else, they they usually tank fast. So I think Memphis is going to take a step back. But I got Cincinnati winning it. Where we don't agree is I don't see them making the playoffs just off of how I see the season going personally. I think it would take not just the Big Ten being out. I think that you need Oklahoma or Clemson and the teams that end up winning those conferences to be 2-loss teams. Or one loss, but that one loss, being a bad loss. A close loss to another power. I think what's going to hurt Cincinnati the most is, and American Conference for that matter, even if it was UCF that went undefeated and dominated the conference and stomped everybody. I think what's going to hurt the American Conference this year is COVID and losing out on Power 5 matchups.
Yep.
I think that just beating up the American isn't going to do it. Unfortunately, I feel like that conference and other Group of 5 schools that could possibly put up big numbers. They're gonna really suffer from losing the potential of those Power 5 matchups to be like, hey, we should stomp fucking Power 5 teams. We should be in the playoff, but you're not gonna have that argument.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them. I do think it's still now. And I'm not saying it's 100% out of the equation. I just think out of how the season I believe will go, you're gonna probably be looking at 2 SEC schools, and then Clemson and Oklahoma, because I don't see anybody stopping them. And you know how they are.
Yeah.
With the playoffs, man. They love their SEC, dude. They love to put 2 teams in there. And I just think the Big Ten being out, that it's like, well, there's your other SEC school. Now you need either the SEC to truly eat itself alive and the number 2 in the SEC to be bad. Like, by bad, I mean like a 3-loss. You need, or that second loss being, like I said, to like a Mississippi State stomping their ass.
Yeah.
Or you need Clemson and Oklahoma. I really do. I think it's almost for sure that SEC's going to get
So,
All right. Well, I mean, we all know that the American is a 3-dog race. Really, it's Memphis, UCF, and Cincinnati. And with UCF having the opt-outs, that kind of takes them off the board for me. For me, it's between Memphis and University of Cincinnati. And after watching Memphis play, I mean, they have the talent there. But the discipline and that third down conversion rate, their fourth down conversion rate, man, those third down is such an important down. They would really have to make big strides in that regard in order to challenge for a conference championship. Yeah. And I mean, I know it's week 1, but you aren't exactly playing the best team out there in Arkansas State. And if you can only go 7 of 19 on third down, or 9 of 17 on third down against Arkansas State, I'm sorry, it doesn't look too good against the University of Cincinnati. So I'm also going to take the University of Cincinnati. Now, Darby, you got into talking about the SEC. And that is where you actually get some parity. The only division in college football that has some actual parity without a clear-cut number 1 is the SEC. I mean, obviously, you have Georgia, you have Alabama. People still talk about LSU. I don't see LSU being, or really having a shot in the dark this year after losing, what was it? Was it 10 or 14 guys? I think it was 14 guys to the draft, and then you lose another 4 to opting out because of COVID. They were a deep team, but now they're going to be really kind of bare bones and lacking of depth. I don't think that they performed too well this year, especially with the revised schedule and being SEC only and adding more games within the conference. Georgia has a shot. They have a real shot this year. I think it's the best shot they've had since they made the National Football Playoff, the College Football Playoff. But I'm really debating because it's between 3 schools for me: University of Alabama, Georgia, Florida Gators. I have to go with my gut, and I think this is the year that Georgia gets it done, and they overcome those demons. The last time they really had I remember them really having a shot was, well, obviously the year they made it to the playoff, but the year of the kick 6, Auburn's miracle run against Alabama in the final play against Georgia to beat Georgia, where it bounces off of our DB's face mask and right into the hands of the Auburn receiver. So I think this is the year that the Georgia Bulldogs reclaim the SEC title.
I'm curious to see how their quarterback situation first.
That's the thing.
That's
the
the
key.
huge
That's the
question mark.
one question mark that's going to hold that whole thing backwards.
And that's not a question mark you want. You can fix other things. Quarterback, that's it.
Right.
But both guys can play. But actually,
did JT Daniels officially get his eligibility? Do we know, like, 100% is he eligible this year?
not that I've seen. I haven't seen official
Because I've
confirmation.
heard he is,
Yeah.
but I haven't officially. They've never. I'm pretty sure they haven't officially announced that he's eligible.
Yeah.
If he isn't, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie Newman gone, him gone.
Yeah. They don't have. That's game over. But
And it could be a bad year for Georgia, and a bad year means bad in recruiting. And
Yeah.
bad recruiting means
down the tank.
and bye Kirby Smart.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first time. I mean, how many coaches have they gone through? Let's continue. What is your prediction for the SEC this year, Luke?
I think I don't know, man. I wanted to say Alabama originally, based off what we've talked about. I can't really make a bold prediction. I can't say Auburn for the life of me, but I've always looked at this conference as something that I could care less about because I'm more focused on the our underdogs. I remember the Titans guys down here down low in the ACC and the Big 12 and other conferences like that. So I'm really just gonna pick just because I want to play it safe. Because I don't know enough at the moment. I'm gonna say Alabama.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me.
No,
Well,
there's no going wrong with picking Alabama.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's all I can really do.
Actually,
here.
I do think Auburn is a dark horse because they do have a shot. Because I think if there was a year for them to get it done, this would be a possibility for them. Again, I don't see it happening. There's a chance, but I don't.
Yeah, and as I have to go Florida. I know a lot of people aren't in agreement with me on that one. I just feel like when we've talked about all these teams that have those bigger teams that are not in the running as strongly as they have been, it's because of attrition. Naturally. And that goes with Alabama, Georgia. The one team no one's talking about that hasn't had much at all in terms of attrition is Florida. I mean, they've had no major players that I personally seen opt out. They've returned their quarterback's a redshirt senior, Kyle Trask. He looks legit. Loaded running back room. Defense is always solid. We know the defense is always going to be solid. It's Florida.
Yeah.
Dan Mullen's running the offense. This is it. I mean, I feel like I hate it. It like hurts me physically. I feel it physically. It burns to sit here and say it because fuck them. I have to get that out of the way. But I do. I think that Florida gets it, and that I think Florida. I think what's going to be interesting is if what you say is true about like how Alabama it's starting to kind of teeter-totter this year for them in terms of their hopes. I want to see what happens when they really start losing. I want to see what Nick Saban can do once it starts to. I want to see when that recession's going to hit Alabama.
If it hits.
If it ever hits. I mean, it might wait until after Nick Saban's gone. Even still, whoever takes it's going to be Ryan Day 2.0 and take over Lamborghini.
Boys, we're going to be sitting there in our 50s going, back in my day, Alabama was the best ever, and then we'll see how they're doing that.
Yeah, I just
they
I want
might
to
still
know.
they might still be doing that good still.
Every program hits it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I want to shout out to Clemson fans. Enjoy it. By all means, enjoy what you got.
It ain't going to last
But
forever.
it isn't. There's going to come a point, and it's about how short those recession times are. And I'm just interested in seeing when we're going to start seeing the slope, the consistent, the consistent losses start slipping in, and the playoff berths start disappearing. I want to see what happens because then you're going to hear them all chanting, "Get us Dabo."
Yeah.
And but enough of that. I'm sold on Florida. Just because I know you're pretty high on Auburn. I'm not. I personally, I just don't see enough there for them. I know it could like we've talked about with, what happens with quarterback situation at Georgia and Alabama, and how Alabama's roster shakes up. That it is a time for them to kind of this is their opportunity.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're equipped enough to grab the reins. It'd be interesting. I'd love to see the SEC just fall.
Yeah.
Well, personally,
but that's
whatever causes hell.
That's kind of the crazy thing about the SEC is we all know it to be so top heavy, but yet at this moment, that's the one division or the one conference that actually
multiple teams, it seems, actually have a chance to take the reins.
Well,
Because you look at the other division. I'm talking of the Power Five here.
Mhm.
I mean, you look at the ACC. Obviously, it's Clemson. You look at the Big 12, Oklahoma. Big 10, if they play, Ohio State. The SEC is really the only Power 5 because Pac-12 isn't playing either, and even then it's Oregon. The SEC is the only conference where there is some sort of parity and there's a question mark as to who is going to come out on top.
While we're on the SEC, before we move on away from it, how do you guys think, like in all seriousness, how do you think Ole Miss will do with Lane Kiffin at head coach?
I don't have an opinion on that at all. I have no idea.
Let me put.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know personnel wise. I don't know shit about him. I just
Yeah,
want to know
let-
your
let-
guys' thoughts because he is a huge
And-
name. I'm not big on him, but he's a big name.
I do have thoughts.
Oh, and you got Mike Leach went to Mississippi State.
And that's where I was going. Here's my bold prediction: Ole Miss does better than Arkansas. There's a bold prediction for it. But Mike Leach and Mississippi State, they are the team for me to watch. I think they will do better than Ole Miss.
Well, the only thing is you're gonna have to wait a few years on Mississippi State. I think only because personnel wise they're not equipped for his.
Yes,
They aren't loaded.
but it'll
with the
still
talent
be
receiver.
better this year. I mean, just look what he was able to do at Washington State. I mean, he turned them into they were in the national conversation. So, I think Mississippi State is the team of those two hires. Mike Leach, I think, was by far the better hire. I'm not impressed with Lane Kiffin. Everywhere he goes, it's really the only thing that's good that comes out of it is his Twitter account. That's it. I mean, you look at his time in Tennessee. Ugh. That's kind of all my. I don't see him being impressive down there. I don't see them doing